Hello, everybody. We are Geeks Assembled. It's first Doctor Week on the channel, so let's hop in the TARDIS to review the War Machines. Now, let's go round to Lee. What are your first impressions of the War Machine?
It's a modern day. It's not a historical. Well, modern day. It's set in 1966, of course. So the Doctor finally gets back to Earth after Ian and Barbara always wanted to get back to Earth. It does with Dodo, which I think Dodo's hard done by as a companion. She has been in all her stories. She's been hard done by, and especially the way she's written out of this adventure is just I don't know, just slapdash, to be honest. Hartnell, yeah, brilliant Hartnell. It's showing a bit more energy in this one. He's a bit more vigorated in this one. He's when he comes up against the War Machine and Wotan. Remember, spelt with a W. Yeah, I enjoyed this. I don't know about the design of the War Machines as per se, but I don't know if these were made to rival the Daleks. I mean, they even fire smoke like the Daleks did in the two movies, if you remember. So I don't know if they got that idea from the two movies, but yeah, I like this. It's Wotan is a precursor to Boss, isn't he? Really, from the Green Death. So it's if computers rule the world, and when you look at it, they do now.
Yeah.
So it's foretold what's happening now. The computers do really rule the world. So it didn't really drag, and it introduced two new companions, Polly and Ben, of course. And I can understand why William Hartnell was feeling a bit put out from the series with all these new fresh faces coming. He was the only original person there left. Even the producer, Verity Lambert wasn't there. All the original cast wasn't there. So I can understand why he was a bit crotchety and all like that with all these newcomers. And he's one of his best mates had left of the story before, Peter Purvis. He'd left. So, and you get these stories where Annika Wills always tells about she didn't really get on with William Hartnell, but I can understand why he was not very friendly in that lot, because he was mostly feeling out of it, left out. So, but it didn't distract from the performance he puts in this. This is a brilliant William Hartnell performance. So that's my opening thoughts up for now. Jake, I'll come back with favourite moments later.
Thank you, Lee. Right then, over to Craig and David. What are your opening thoughts of the War Machines?
What do you think, David? This is funny though. We're watching the War Machine and it had a 9 on it, and I was just thinking it's like K9. It's almost like the almost like if K9 was on the sort of scene coming later. But I was just saying the Craig watching the scenes that were shot around London. Walked down many of them streets, and we're trying to figure out the was it Gower Street? Was it
Charlotte Street?
Just Charlotte Street. That's right, yeah. Because at first we thought it was the British Museum, and London '60s looked great, really cool, like dirty, kind of, even though it's in black and white, it sort of looks like grimy as its name, the smoke, But William Hartnell's my favourite Doctor, I just love him. He's got presence, and as I say, like, maybe felt a little bit pushed out because the new order was coming in, but I think he still commanded the whole thing. He is one of the best. Well, he's a proper, in a sense, like he's like Laurence Olivier or something like this. Ralph Richardson. He would have made a good Doctor, Ralph Richardson. Let's think about. But I just thought it was really nice, and I don't know. What do you think, Craig?
I would call this one like a little classic gem of 60s jazz. Like it was,
yeah.
When he meets Ben and Ben and Polly, it turns into, I would call EastEnders in space, but they weren't actually in space. But yeah, to be I know they found some of the clips in Nigeria and that, but they were pretty clean cut, you know. I mean, it was pretty good quality stuff, really, from what they had to from the original version. But yeah, I mean, the noise got to me after a while. You know,
Yeah.
it sounds like the dial-up when we first got internet. How they didn't go insane just from that. Anyway, and I've been saying Wotan wrong all the time. I've been calling him Wotan.
Yeah, because of the
I've been-
W, like it's
But yeah, it was a nice little 1960s gig. I liked it.
The sound it made, it was like a bad fax machine or something, you know. That's to get on your nerves.
But William, for the first Doctor was I think this is my favourite performance of the first Doctor, I would say. But I'll come on to that later. That's my opening thoughts.
Well,
Back to you, Jake.
well, thank you very much. Over to Susan. What are your opening thoughts on the War Machines?
All right. Well, it starts off with a great, you know, zoom in on Earth from outer space, which was fun. And the machines are basically a bit of a Frankenstein with a big octagonal club and a spray gun, not a ray gun, but a spray gun. And so that's, I mean, it's just big and clunky, and it runs into things really hard. It's just like um, the machine is an interesting construct, and the mind control is, you know, something that they revisit over and over and over again. Um, you know, the Daleks control the Robomen by that very same thing, and then I mean, it goes all the way to the Mara and the Master, and you know, mind control is something that is kind of a long lasting thing, and even to the Timeless Children, which I think has something to do with mind control because it's in the Matrix and it's also in the Doctor's mind. And so, yeah, it's kind of like the first step. This robot's probably the first step to the big robot because it's entirely it has no organic parts. It's just a big clunky thing like the robot that Sarah Jane and the Fourth Doctor and the Brigadier can connect with, and yeah, I really love the activity around the Doctor and Sir Charles. I mean, the Doctor and Sir Charles, you know, that was a really, you know, those were well constructed uh, dialogue. It was beautifully spoken, and he didn't have any gaffes. The whole basically his whole performance was perfect, and you know, but you know, I prefer the ones with the gaffes because the Doctor was young at that time, and because I watched the first Doctor episodes after I'd watched the ninth Doctor episodes and some of the fourth Doctor, I really began to, you know, I saw enough of what he was trying to do, and then the fact that he was so much younger, older looking, but so much younger. Back then, it was that was fun. And the other thing that was great was um, uh, Polly and Ben, and oh well, I'll get to my favorite moments. but all told, it's a pretty great episode. It's got a lot of beautiful uh, dialogue and interplay and some really good action scenes. Anyway,
Right.
yeah. So back over to you, Jake.
Thank you, Susan. Right, best to last. Tim, what are your opening thoughts on the War Machines?
Well, I think it's surprising it holds up as well as it does, because the series had gone through a lot of troubles behind the scenes at this point. And these guys, these new producers, I forget who was in charge at this point, but they were picking up the pieces after John Wiles left and kind of ruined everything in a lot of ways. He was like the worst producer the show ever had, in my opinion. But yeah, it's good. To follow on what Lee said about Hartnell being kind of left, I think more likely he was tired, to be fair, because remember back then they were filming about 42 weeks out of the year, and that's a lot of work. I mean, for the leading man. It's interesting how much more you got back then than you do these days when you have 2 or 3 years off in between series most of the time, but that's another story. I do think you see some of the clumsiness of what was going on. Like Dodo departs halfway through the story with little or no fanfare. She just gets mentioned later. That was kind of, I think she was a mistake to begin with. Ben and Polly are much more on the modern. It's like modern, hip chick with her sailor boyfriend kind of thing. And I think that really suits the time a lot better. And they ended up, being there for the transition. This is the last episode or last story of the 3rd series. And they would come back and Hartnell would do 2 more. And that was it. They would replace him with Troughton, which was the best idea they ever had. I mean, like, it's a good story. It's a bit by the numbers, I think. I don't think the villains are that exciting, but they're okay. I mean, it's a good way to end the series, I guess, at that point. But it's nothing really to write home about, I don't think. Other than the introduction of these new young companions who would go on for another year or so. But yeah, overall, it does the job. I'd say it's pretty good. That's all I got for now.
Thank you, Tim. This story for me is one of my favourite Hartnell stories of all time. It's probably like my 3rd favourite. I think William Hartnell is great in this story, but you can, like Tim said, you can tell he's very tired. It's just throughout the episode you can see in his eyes that because he wasn't very well at all during this time of this era, so he wasn't having the best of times. But I do think it is a great story to fit the time. You got Ben and Polly, the stereotypical 60s characters. You got a human-built machine to like advanced technology that's fucked up. So humans are fucked up again. What a surprise! But I love Wotan, and if I had to bring back a Doctor Who threat, he's on my shortlist. Especially with all the technological advantages that's happening in the modern day. What a great opportunity to bring him back. But yeah, it's full of good moments, and I do think it's a great jumping on point for a William Hartnell story, because you're getting new companions. You see what I mean? It's not one of these big 6-episode dragged out things. It's 4 parts. I think it's quite quick. And with the character of Dodo, she was a bit thrown out the window in this story, weren't she? Literally bugger off up the countryside, not coming back, here's my letter, fuck you, sort of thing. But I do think, saying that though, she was really finding her feet in this story, and then just as that I starting to like her, they got rid of her. So I hope like someone like Big Finish picks her up and gets Jackie Lane on board and give her a whole new side of her, because I think she's one of those companions that we need to see more of to get a definite opinion of her. But anyway, on to favourite moments. We'll go backwards. We shall go with Tim. What are your favourite moments?
Well, I don't think you would like the way Dodo exited the books. I think Lee mentioned that. But as far as I recall, she went down in a hail of bullets after contracting a venereal disease. But anyway, favorite moments. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I said, it's a by the numbers. It's a good enough story. It's I really can't think of any. I mean, I guess at the time it must have been exciting that there was at last an adventure in contemporary Earth. they make a big deal of showing off the post office tower, which was very new then. I don't know what they call it now. It's probably owned by some other company.
BT Tower.
Yeah,
BT.
BT Tower.
But so that's all cool. And I mean that kind of puts the show where it's at, you know, like new buildings, you know, that kind of thing. So that's exciting to see in there. Overall, it's just like it's one of those ones that's kind of by the numbers. I think it's interesting. This is the only story in the classic series where they actually say Doctor Who, where he's actually referred to as Doctor Who, and that's always been kind of a bugbear for some people. But at the end of the day, who cares?
Right, over to Susan. Favourite moments, please.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, one of my favorite moments is when Wotan and its long drawn out. You know, you'd think a computer would actually have a quicker speech pattern, but that's all right. It's just, it was the 60s, man. They didn't know what the hell computers were going to be like, and how amazing they were going to be. Anyway, today mine was acting a bit like Wotan, really slow. I had to stop it and restart it. Have you tried turning it off and on again? That's what I would say to Wotan. Anyway, my favorite moment, one of them, is the Doctor Who is required, and then that's repeated again in this in the Asylum of the Daleks. You know, these lines that were really good. They came back and they reused a lot of it. It was good. And another one is the descent into London, and you see the tower, but then you see all the housing and all the mansard roofs. I'm obsessed with mansard roofs. Second Empire roofing is my favorite, and I never saw it as a child. They didn't have it in Minnesota, in Montana, or even as a young adult in California. They didn't have it. So they're all over here,
We
and
didn't have
they're
an
all
empire.
over London.
Hmm.
Go ahead. What's that?
I said we didn't have an empire.
I know it's true, but they're also in France, and so the French didn't really have an empire, but that's okay. They're beautiful, and so you see them from above, and they're gorgeous. And then my third favorite moment is Polly and Ben and Dodo in a nightclub, actually, like having a drink, having a dance. You know, the music and the doctor shows up and he's really cool. It was like hella, you know, hip for a Doctor Who thing. It was like suddenly as cool as Top of the Pops. You know, it was amazing. So yeah, I really like that scene, and I like how Dodo comes back later, mind controlled, and that interplay, and then Ben and Polly, and Ben is, he's going to be grumpy. That's part of his character makeup when he's sitting there super grumpy on the bar, and that's the way he becomes, and he carries on that grumpy Ben thing all the way through. It's one of my favorite parts of about Ben is that he's like Mr. Grumpy Pants. He he's grumpy. He's angry and sad and grumpy. Anyway, that's just neat, and none of the other companions are ever like that except for Ben. Ben is just, he's got his own personality, and that's really fun. Anyway, the War Machines. I like the construct of the Wotan and the tower. And one more thing that's really brilliant about this is that the computer is sort of foreshadowed with even in the credits. The the way it populates down and fills out, and it's got like those blocks, and it's written in the old computer script. That was really cool, and another really cool thing. So those are my favorite moments. Over to you, Jake.
Thank you, Susan. Right, back over to Craig and David. Favourite moments?
My favorite scene out of from the first Doctor and the War Machines is that beautiful panning shot where he's standing with his black hat on, and then all the soldiers are running behind him, and then it pans into him, and he just doesn't. He's got no fear. He kicks ass. That is my favorite part.
I think when the War Machine's in the boxing ring, K9's in the little boxing ring, and they put him between the ropes to sort of like
Refuse collection.
yeah, to neutralize him. Like, I think the Doctor was the coolest person in the discotheque. You know, when he came down those stairs, he looked a bit like Mike Myers. You know, oh baby, behave. You know? Everybody else looked really ungroovy. Holly looked classic 60s. Them big eyes and all that, very sort of like Max Factor or Mary.
The fight scene was pretty cool.
That was great.
A bit of
a bit of
some
proper
sort of
you know.
like,
and also there was actually the classic Pepsi Cola bottles from the 60s on the bar with the straws. You know, they're great looking at them. You know, looking. But yeah, I think William Hartnell's just brilliant in this, and I want that hat. I want his
you'll
hat.
have to get it off Beef Dad.
I'll have to get it off Beef Dad. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He won't give it to you like that.
You won't. No, probably not.
Also, just dye the one you're wearing black.
Yeah, it could do. Like, I suppose it's got a bit of a William Hartnell. It's funny that how they, like Sue was saying, that they're trying to show like the iconic 60s of London, you know. And then when you see that shot, that aerial shot, it actually looks a bit like Paris, the way the buildings are laid out, you know.
My granddad used to work behind that. Well, they called it the GPO tower as well, but it was the post office behind there. That's where my granddad used to work, because my mum came in and she's like, "Oh, that's where my dad used to."
Right. They changed it over to BT. I think it was in the 80s sometime, you know. It was always.
Are all of those streets? If I could just ask, are all of those streets pretty much still there? They haven't been changed over the years.
They look exactly. Really. They look pretty much the same, you know.
Yeah, very much the same still.
Especially Charlotte Street. What was that?
Covent Garden.
Covent Garden. We knew it was Covent Garden as soon as I saw the arch. I was like, "That's Covent Garden."
That's right. It's funny that because you can sort of.
But they are black arches now, because a lot of the place there was a Disney store in there, but that's gone. Yeah. So it's a lot of empty stores, empty arches that are there now.
That's true. Yeah. The one part I thought they were actually coming through Carnaby Street, was the back of Garlick Street, which is kind of going towards. You see Centrepoint. That's like a big reference point in London. If
that's still there as well.
Yeah, that's still there.
It's a homeless shelter. Well, it was a soup kitchen.
That's right. Yeah. The council end up giving it over to like a housing refuge, you know, for which is a great idea, because the thing stood there for years, derelict, you know, nobody was using it or anything, you know.
They need to get the War Machines back out for COVID.
It had a bit of a good look about it, like, you know.
Anyone not wearing a face mask, that's it.
Oh, baby, behave. I mean, oh, yeah, baby. No, more like COVID-19 and getting the War Machine, you know.
No.
Yeah, baby. Sorry.
That's our favourite moment.
Yeah, that's my favourite bit.
Over to you, Jakey, baby.
Thank you, thank you, Craig, baby.
Craig, baby.
Last but not least, Lee, our Lord and Master, what are your favourite moments?
Well, I was just, when I was rewatching it this morning, and I was tallying up about Hartnell did about, what was it, 30 TV stories in total, and out of those 30, I think there was only 3, I might be wrong, but there was only 3 with location shooting. I think Dalek Invasion was 1, this would have been the 2nd, and Smugglers, I think, had location shooting.
There was one scene. There was, one scene in the Reign of Terror.
Yeah.
The one. Yeah. Well, the rest of them was all studio bound. So this story, they made a big deal about location shooting, and they had the Doctor and Dodo and all that out in the streets of London. I think that was, an attraction for it. You know, look, the Doctor is in London,
Yeah.
but that's why I think it stands the test of time, this one, because of the location shooting. You know, it's not wobbly sets. It's you know, it's real streets, what people know. I agree with what Craig said. That scene where the camera just goes up to the Doctor's face, it's just so you can see the power and determination in him. It's just brilliant. Yeah, I agree with what Tim said. It is a Doctor Who bar numbers, but it works. It tells a story from it gets you from A to B in 4 episodes. As Jake said, this could have been dragged out for six or 8 episodes, but no. As I always said, 4 episodes seems the ideal length for a classic Who story to get this sort of story told. It's for me though. It's Hartnell's performance in this. What's my favourite moments? Every time he's there, he does sort of steal the limelight on the screen. He was old, he was tired, but once you know he plays the Doctor, he sort of comes alive.
Yeah.
The new companions, I know, I see what they were doing, you know, getting as it said, the hip young companions in from the 60s, all like that, and they must have maybe known by then who they was going to replace him with. So go for the younger fans and stuff with Troughton and all like that. But it's, I mean, Ben and Polly were a good team. I think they did better with Troughton stories, but their departure was not that good either, if I remember rightly. In what's it called?
One.
The Faceless Ones.
Faceless Ones.
Yeah, they wasn't really treated well for their departure in that. So
it had to do with contracts, because they were contracted for 2 episodes more, and rather than sign them up again or pay them more, that's why they just had them in the 2. Same thing with Dodo. I mean, she was only contracted for that amount of time, so that's why they did it that way.
I mean, you can't do anything about it now, but I do wish the writing for the companions was a lot better back then. I mean,
look what they did to Tegan.
Yeah, I've had enough. Bye.
Yeah.
To be fair, she was on there a long time though, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. She was one of the longest running companions back then. And to get I mean, they didn't go into the post office tower, but to advertise that the post office tower is open now was a big deal for London.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest TV shows on TV at the time is promoting, oh look, the post office tower. I like it. It's a good one. So over to you, Jake.
Well, thank you. Well, one of my favourite moments. Everyone's basically said that my favourite moments are. I adored the whole Doctor Who line, because that's such an iconic villain line that even before I watched the War Machines back when I was a babe, I remember it because it's such a good line, the way it's spoken, slow and creepy. That must have scared the shit out of quite a few kids back then, but he's not as good as Boss. Boss is the best supercomputer ever. But yeah, and I like Craig and everyone else has said, I love his Hartnell's standoff, probably his best moment of his whole entire tenure, because that's a Doctor saying, try me, bitch, sort of thing. Yeah. And I did like the dancing stuff. The dancing when he met Ben and Polly and all that, and I kind of wish the Doctor joined him when he walked in, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's nice. I do think it was a good story introducing companions. I do think they introduced Ben and Polly quite well. Here's Polly, her uncle works with the villain. Here's Ben, he's a Navy who fancies Polly, well, not at first because they insult each other, sort of thing. And I like it. And justice for Dodo. Give her a War Dodo spin-off. Anyway, yeah. So anything else anyone wants to say about this story, or do you want to wrap up with Fireside School?
I did enjoy that, the ideally placed crates.
Yeah.
For the War Machines to crash through.
And there was another throwaway line about the Doctor being human. Part of it was the line about a human mind is required. We require Doctor Who, and I just think like, yeah, that's just yeah. There's a lot of throwaway lines about the Doctor being human in these all these stories all along.
Well, this was before he was made into an alien.
Well, he was not a Time Lord yet.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't they address he has two hearts until Wheelie in Space? Is that when the whole two hearts thing came in, or was that no, Spirit from Space, isn't it, that they first introduced two hearts and Dr. John Smith?
An aspirin will kill him.
Yeah.
Oh.
I got John Smith and two hearts muddled up, sorry. Yeah, carry on. Is that it from everyone?
I think it would have been, before your time, all you guys' time, but there used to be a show called The Goodies. Lee might know.
Oh
it.
yeah.
Well, there was a little kitty cat who used to knock down the GPO tower. If you remember, like,
That's brilliant. That's
that would have
brilliant.
been
Kitten
cool, like,
Kong.
at the end, like.
Kitten Kong.
Kitten Kong.
Yeah, King Kong. That's
Cheech
it.
and Chong.
But no, I think it's nine furry hats out of 10. 9 cool hats out of 10.
Oh, we're scoring already.
Oh, sorry, not
Okay.
yet. I'm definitely going to give it that.
David and
I was-
Craig
I was-
have started.
Yeah, I was
You
traveling.
you better catch up with them.
I was traveling in time and space there in my own head. Sorry. Any other last
That line that Dodo says, she says, "Oh, imagine Scotland Yard whisked off into time and space."
Yay.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be classic.
And the policeman just walks past. He's got the out of order sign on the TARDIS.
Yeah. Oh, that was another thing. Oh, the TARDIS looked like it could have done with a coat of paint. It looked a little bit bashed up, like, I know it goes backwards and forwards in time, like, but I've been doing a bit of painting and decorating. I could have put a good price in for him, like, could have put a nice royal blue colour there, and bit of gold trim around the edge, Anyway. Just a little thing for the BBC there, if they want someone to paint the TARDIS, yeah, baby, I'm your man.
Yeah. They never did look after their TARDIS prop to the point where it nearly killed Elizabeth Sladen. That's a story for when we review Seeds of Doom, sorry. Right, over to Lee. Well, Lee Dennis, I don't know what planet I'm on.
Right, you want it scoring now, do you?
Yeah, final saying score, please, lovely.
What do I give it? Well, it's a really well acted four-parter, bog standard, which is not bog standard, but a standard story. It's not, it's told well. It does what it says on the tin. It delivers. So, and it's Hartnell's performance for me. So, I don't know. I'm going to give it 8 sailors in every port out of 10.
Right then, over to Susan. First saying score.
Thanks, Jake. I don't have a sailor in every port. I only have one sailor, and but just to keep ripping Lee a little bit, and I will give it. I'll give it because it's a fantastic first Doctor story. I'll give it a 9.5. Spray guns, mansard roofs, whatever, out of 10.
Thank you, Susan. Right then, over to Tim. Final saying score, please.
I will give it an 8. It's a good story.
Thank you, Tim. Nice and short. Right, I will give it 8.5 conveniently placed boxes out of 10. Right then. So I'd like to thank. Is that time of the program? I'd like to
Hold
thank
on.
you.
Did you get Craig's score?
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
8.5 out of 10.
Well,
9 badly bashed up TARDISes in space out of 10, I think. And 9 King Kitty Kongs.
Right. Thank you two, for that. So it's that time of the podcast where I thank you all for watching, you lovely people for joining me. If you want to take part, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Comment down below, hit that like button. What did you think of the War Machines? Ring that bell and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Hey.